Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Susie Von Slaughter.
I'm Cecil Laird.
Marcia Becker.
And I'm Jaime and Fuego. We are here to do another installment of Getting to Know the Horror Show. That's right, we are having a few drinks, getting loose, and just getting a little bit personal with you guys, which we don't necessarily do when we're doing trailer reactions or all of the other variety content that we cover here. So this is the Big Four, the Fab Four, the inner circle, so to speak, and we're just going to be talking about how we got into horror. What was the initial spark, and maybe what poured some gasoline on that flame, so to speak. So I think the show founder, our fearless leader, should lead the proceedings. What do you think, man?
Well, thank you very much. My first experience with horror, which if you guys are interested, we have covered this in our podcasts, but we wanted to cover it in video format because you guys were interested in it. So if you look at our early podcasts, we have talked about all of our histories of horror. But to just talk about how we got into it, my first recollection with the horror genre was when I walked into my parents' room, and I always phrase that in a particular way because people think I mean something else, but
that
no,
is scary.
I walked in. That's disgusting.
That is scary.
There's a little bit of overflow. This beer cannot keep itself.
I like spewed as soon as he said that.
It's enough of that. Let's not talk about
There's a joke there.
anything like that. So I walked into my parents' room. Oh my god! While they were both busy. That's not gonna work either. One was watching TV, the other was in the office working. Let me just say that. But I walked into the walked into the room, and I was a young impressionable kid. I must have been about 6 or 7 years old, and I walk in and I look on the TV and I see a man in a little flotation dinghy with his hands on a electrical wire in the water, and he's got a paddle, and he's like, come on! And I'm like, what is this? And then all of a sudden, I see this massive great white shark rise out of the water towards what I end up finding out is Chief Brody in the climax of Jaws 2. So I see this massive shark come up and chomp on an electrical wire, and he short circuits and fries and dies, and that's how the movie ends of Jaws 2. Spoilers. But
the Schneider family was not safe.
Brody family,
no,
definitely not. Yeah. But that was my first experience ever watching anything scary, and that might be why I love creature movies and especially shark movies. The Shallows was my favorite movie of 2016. The Monster was, but The Shallows was number 2. And I love Deep Blue Sea. That's sort of a guilty pleasure movie.
I adore Deep Blue Sea. Good job,
of course,
sir.
the original Jaws. And I am extraordinarily looking forward to the upcoming Meg movie, which is about a giant prehistoric great white shark by the name of Carcharodon megalodon.
Didn't you talk to that author, sir?
Indeed, Fuego. Thank you very much for mentioning that.
Shameless plug.
I, in fact, did interview the author, Steve Alton, about the Meg series about 1.5 years ago, so that is on the channel if you're interested. But that initial experience with horror got me into it. A couple of my other early ones. The first horror movie I saw in the theater was Child's Play 2. Yes. At producer Dave's, I think it was 12th or 13th birthday party, was a trip to see Did I say Child's Play 2 or 3?
You said 3.
You said 2.
But I know it was 3.
Okay. I said 2, but I meant 3. No. Yeah. The first horror movie I remember seeing in the theater was Child's Play 3 at producer Dave's 13th birthday party.
Isn't there a podcast where you recite the whole Chucky?
I can do it right now if I really wanted.
I think you should, sir.
Ade, Dewey, Dembella, give me the power, I beg of you. Eva Melcier, de bois, chayo, s'accusante a me por de mort, mortis melo de vacor de maboche, adele por de voise, Dembella.
I just pulled a Winona Ryder, by the way.
So that's that. I love Child's Play 3. And then finally, the last thing I need to get to that just solidified my love of the horror genre and the creature genre was the Tremors series, specifically Tremors 1. We absolutely have an original piece of art from Jeff West over there of a graboid, because that, Jaws, and Freddy were the 3 things that legitimately haunted my nightmares throughout my life. And so I have to say, I didn't mention Nightmare on Elm Street 3, that's for another video coming up, but I did mention the shark, and I did definitely mention the graboid because those are the things that drew me into the horror genre.
Why
So,
did not jump the shark, bro?
who wants to go next? Suze?
Okay. So, my kind of first experience, I was so thankful. I have an aunt who I get along with very well, not surprisingly, that I'm saying this, that she is not related by blood, and that's probably why I get along with her so well. But this woman is so, like, into horror, and I was with her a lot at a very, very young age, and her maiden name, her last name was Adams, and she always used to tell me that she was part of the Adams family. And so I was like, that's awesome. So she actually is the one who kind of introduced a lot of it to me, you know, with the Adams family, and like especially, actually it was Nightmare on Elm Street. She was up really late one night watching that, and I came to watch it with her, and I'm like, what's she watching?
The very first one.
Yeah, she didn't like try to shy me away from it. She was like, oh, come on. You know, and I thought it was cool. I was like, what's
come under my wing,
to
young lass.
to bed eating him. You know, and it's like
Poor Johnny Depp.
No, but it was cool. So she never shied me away from it, but it was something I was always drawn to. You know what I mean? Like, and I was very, very young, and
because it's something you didn't see very often, or because it scared you, or what was it that drew you to it?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Switching into podcast mode, guys.
I don't know.
We've
like
heard
exactly
these questions on the podcast.
No,
before.
I don't know exactly what drew me to it, but like any time after that, anytime I saw something dark or that's supposed to be scary, I'm like, this is awesome, you know. And I wasn't like just a young girl who's like, yeah, princesses and ponies. I'm like, yeah, blood, and like I remember like the
princesses and ponies.
Yeah,
blood.
Yay! That orgy! Yay!
Like I remember when the Nightmare Before Christmas came out, and then my aunt showed that to me. It was like, this is amazing. You
Which
know
I
what
was
mean?
not allowed to watch as a kid.
Yeah, and it was like, it was cool because she kind of, I guess, guided that horrorness into me. And we still talk today, and
that's cool. That's
yeah,
good though,
so,
to have someone in your life like that.
And it's funny, you would never expect
you
would never expect it from this woman. If you saw her on the street, you would never expect it. And she had a brother who was like in the Navy, and he used to like get like cow brains and like all this stuff, and we'd like eat it. He was a chef, so he'd get all this random shit, like, and he's like, there's monkey, cow brains and like monkey brains and like cow tongue and like stuff like that. And so I was kind of, I don't know, maybe got it into, I don't know, it was awesome. But that was kind of my
your entree.
I eat your brains and gain your knowledge.
Well, I have to do a follow-up though. What was your entree? Because it seems like your favorite subgenre of horror seems to be witch movies. So what was your entree into that, or is that perhaps a whole nother
that in itself? Yeah, no, that's in itself. That's a personal path in itself for people who know me. Like, I do practice.
She talked about that on a podcast, right?
Well, then let's save it.
So if you would like to know.
Yeah, we need to hear her differences, because it's been a number of years at this point since I've heard them, and I need to apparently be refreshed.
But yeah, so give it up to those people guiding those little children's.
Them little chillins.
Yeah, so that it's not all like puppies and rainbows, you know what I mean?
True.
So.
Fuego, what about you?
Oh man, it was really extensive for me for the sheer fact that I was raised Reformed Baptist. So a subsect of a subsect of a subsect of
That is scary.
Oh my God, Reformed Baptist! Ah! No, but so my dad was a Bible teacher, and he still is at a certain private Christian school here in the grand state of Arizona. But so
he is.
Oh yeah, my dad still is. He has not retired yet.
Know.
He has not retired yet.
Revelation.
He is still going strong. But he actually didn't become a private school teacher until after many years of teaching history, philosophy, and stuff like that. So he was one of those seekers. But funny thing, even though my mom hated horror, scared to death, wouldn't let me trick or treat or any of that stuff, my dad still liked stuff like Ghostbusters, Alien, Fright Night. And so when she'd go to bed, sometimes he'd stay up and watch that stuff, and I'd sneak out and peer over the couch and try to get a look at stuff like that. And I still remember having nightmares from the cover of Fright Night, but I didn't really have personal experience.
Was that the Clouds cover?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, with the fangs and everything and over the house and whatnot.
Like,
oh, it's a great
Drop that bad boy in right there.
Yeah, Tom Holland, love that guy. But I didn't have a personal horror experience that was unintentional until I started to realize how fascinated I was by sharks. And this is where you and I bonded when we first met. So I was fascinated by these killing machines, and I was like, I want to know about every kind of shark that can attack you and kill you, whether it's a Mako or, you know, a Hammerhead or, you know,
Great white.
Yeah, great whites,
Tiger
blue
shark,
blue
bull
sharks. Yeah, exactly.
White tips.
There's a
Great
vast
reefs.
amount of them. Bull sharks being the ones that can go into fresh water, and that's why I wouldn't even go in lakes and rivers when I was a kid because I was so frightened. But I was watching a National Geographic special I got from the Phoenix Public Library, and for whatever reason, they interspersed this video with the little boy getting attacked at the beginning of Jaws and torn to shreds, and the little yellow raft floats to the shore. That gave
Not quite
me...
the beginning, but yeah.
Well, it's the second kill in the movie. And so I had nightmares for decades about that. Seriously, I was still in my early 20s having nightmares about that. I was so effed up and
Jaws was one of
scarred
my nightmares
for
that I
life.
mentioned earlier, yeah.
Oh, my Lord, I know. But, you know, being the first Jaws, that was the first personal inclination. But that's what laid the seed, I guess. And then when I saw, like, the Twilight Zone marathons on, like, Labor Day and Memorial Day when I was a kid, I would stay up all night, sleepover status, watch all of those, eventually got into Tales from the Crypt. Loved anthology horror, started reading Goosebumps, watching stuff like The Monster Squad, and then I guess Stephen King was where everything came full circle for me when I saw something like The Stand as a kid and was hearing Don't Fear the Reaper with all these dead people. Thankfully, I did not see this Saturday Night Live skit before. I saw Don't Fear the Reaper actually being used in a frightening fashion because it's in the actual text of the Stand book that King wrote, so... That was my first encounter.
One of my favorite karaoke songs, that.
Oh, it's damn good, man. So it's not all about Will Ferrell with the gut hanging out, hitting the cowbell. That was later on. And so if that was your first encounter with that amazing song, I'm sorry. But yeah, the seeds were sown. And as I talked about on our podcast when we mentioned this a couple of years ago now at this point, I was one of those little kids when I started to realize how much I loved horror that my younger brother, 2 years littler than me, he's the ladies' man of sorts. He's the one who, you know, he's just like that Saturday Night Live character. But he would run into the 18 and over section and look at all that stuff. And where would I go? I would go into the horror movie section and look at all those great, grotesque 80s horror covers. And I would get nightmares. And yet that's where I would still run to scope out that stuff. So that was me getting introduced to horror, realizing how much I loved it. And here I am, guys.
Marcia!
So I am a latchkey kid at heart. My mom was a single mom with 3 kids, and I was the youngest, so I had the run of the house pretty much to do whatever I wanted. And then, so I would show up when I wasn't supposed to, like when they were watching Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was like, what's this? And I would get pulled away halfway through it, and I was like, oh, that was cool. And then the next movie I got introduced to was Child's Play, which I watched all of 5 minutes and had to leave because I had dolls and it terrified me. Still terrifies me. I remember going to my mom's room like, please let me sleep with you, I'm scared. And she's like, no, go away. But I was really into it, and my brother, I still remember my brother, he would introduce a lot of it to me, and that's when I realized how fascinated. But it was more of like the ghost stories that drew me in, and maybe it had a little bit to do with me living in BFE, Maine, where everything was 800 years old, and every house I lived in had a ghost story, and at one point I lived next to a cemetery, so I was really drawn into that. And he would sneak me at night and be like, watch these really crazy ghost stories with like ghost kids like dropping bricks on people's heads. And
I
you know,
where
like,
Stephen King got it.
right? And like, you know, there was one where this lady pulled this guy through the TV to like her like realm, and I was like terrified of having a TV in my room mirrors. I would cover things up, like I would lock my dolls in my closet, but I kept going back, and I really got into reading like scary stories. I would go to the library and get a book on cassette tape, and I would get the book with the cassette tape because I liked the way they would say the stories. It was like around a campfire, and I own all the stories.
And they do different voices and stuff, which is why I think you and I both still love those audible and audio drama stuff when they do them. They're BA.
Yeah, it was
so good.
It was so awesome. I would get in trouble all the time because I would never return the book. And
Libraries find you.
Yeah, Goosebumps was another big thing. I was always reading and looking into that stuff, and once I was able to explore that when I got older and had my own ability to actually get into more movies and books and things like that. I was always drawn to it, but it's really the ghost stories that get me a lot because it's the things that you can't see and protect yourself from that really scare me because you can't get it if it's a ghost.
It's true.
You just can't.
Well, and also that stuff that's more closer to our own reality, right?
Mhm.
I mean, there's no big mutated creature, whatever things, right? But yet, ghost people are pretty
Oh yeah.
pretty certain that sort of energy remains.
In my house, we're really big in the ghosts. So I still believe in ghosts and spirits and energies and things you can't explain. And it's just so fascinating to me. I'm also into like true life crimes, and because I think what people do to other people is another form of horror. And it's disturbing, and that's why serial killers are so fascinating to me. I love ghost stories and serial killers in my life. So, but yeah, so I've always been kind of been drawn to it because it's fascinating and it's cool, and some of it's real and some of it's fantastical, and just I don't know. I feel at home when I'm watching horror movies.
Nice.
That's perfect. That's a great way to end this
Yeah,
episode.
we
you
all
guys.
feel at home.
We love this genre, and that is just a few examples of how each of us got into the genre. Special thanks to the Horror Miser, if I didn't mention it before, because I don't think I did, for asking the question. So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you, Horror Miser, for asking the question. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Get to Know the Horror Show. If you did, leave a comment down below what you thought of the episode, and if you have any other questions. Again, we have a series of questions that we are lined up to film tonight, and if you guys are interested, we'll continue to do these because it's easy to talk about ourselves, quite frankly. So, but it's nice to know that you guys are actually interested in us as people instead of just faces talking about horror all the time.
I like to be face talks about horror.
All right, that's fair too. All right, well, thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Susie von Slaughter.
Gracias, Jaime, and Fuego.
Marshburger.
Until next time, remember,
Stay
stay scared.
Like, share, subscribe.